The CEO's wife, wanting to test me, deliberately offered me $30,000 to see if I was only after her money. She told me to use it to do whatever I desired most. She thought if I used the money to buy a car or a house, she would immediately divorce me. But what she didn't expect was that I used the $30,000 to buy a secluded island and supplies to last a lifetime, completely disappearing from her world. The agent handling the transaction was very surprised, as the island wasn't well known, not even found on maps, equivalent to being entirely out of touch with the world. "Mr. Miller, are you sure you want to buy this island? If you buy it and move there, contacting the outside world will be very difficult." I nodded, my voice filled with a sense of release. What I wanted was to be unreachable. The man across from me seemed startled, as if my request was odd, but being professional, he didn't ask many questions. He simply explained the process and when I could move to the island. When he said it would only take a few days, I sighed with relief, swiped my card, and turned to leave. In my previous life, I didn't even have a chance to spend all this money. This rebirth was so ironic. After our engagement, reliving it, the first thing I learned was not to sacrifice myself. As I exited the sales office, a black luxury car pulled up in front of me. The door opened, and Evelyn Sterling slowly stepped out. The normally composed woman looked frantic, her cold eyes unable to conceal her worry. It was the first time I'd seen her since my rebirth. I couldn't help but say her name, Evelyn. But Evelyn didn't even look at me properly, just grabbed my hand and pulled me into the car. Nathan hurried after me. I tumbled into the back seat, my head hitting something. With a thud, Evelyn bowed her head looking at her phone, completely ignoring me. The car sped off and stopped in front of the hospital. Without waiting for the car to come to a complete stop, she dragged me by the hand to the blood transfusion room. Only when I was sitting in front of the nurse, watching the needle pierce my vein, did I finally hear Evelyn's explanation. "Zachary accidentally fell down the stairs. Don't worry, you don't need to give much blood this time." Before I could respond, I was slapped hard across the face. "You little brat. Where did you go? Didn't I tell you that you always have to be with your brother, never leave him alone?" My mom was furious. It hurt so much that my eyes immediately turned red. I looked up at my angry mother but didn't say a word. My dad put his arm around Mom, his eyes also filled with anger. "You deliberately made us worry, didn't you? If anything happens to Zachary, I'll skin you alive." My sister, Olivia Miller, didn't even bother to look at me. "I think we should tie him up with a rope so he doesn't run around." This was my family. Because of my brother, they couldn't wait to tear me apart, even just because I disappeared for an hour. Evelyn, the only one who slightly softened her tone, was only concerned about Zachary Sterling. "Don't argue, don't disturb Zachary getting his transfusion. Who would care about me? I was just a mobile blood bag for Zachary Sterling. The only reason I was brought into this world was because Zachary had hemophilia since childhood, a severe bleeding disorder requiring regular transfusions. To ensure Zachary's survival, my parents had me, a living blood bank. From a young age, I was a blood bag, my arms covered in needle marks. No one loved me, my parents only saw me as a tool. My sister only cared for one person, her brother, Zachary. I was always superfluous. Only one person was good to me, Evelyn. The Sterling and Miller families had been close friends for generations. Evelyn was a little older than Zachary, I had to call her Sister Evelyn. Growing up in such a neglected family, I naturally fell in love with Evelyn, the only one who gave me warmth and attention. I confessed my feelings to her. Although she was shocked, not happy, she still agreed and promised to marry me. God knows how happy I was at that moment. The person I loved turned out to love me too. It seemed all my life's luck was used to win Evelyn's love. So, even though my parents and sister didn't care about me, I didn't mind. But later, I realized that the person Evelyn truly loved was Zachary. She agreed to marry me only because she worried that if I married someone else, she wouldn't be able to control me and continue transfusions to Zachary, threatening his life. I was a fool, always blinded, smugly believing I was about to become Evelyn's husband. How laughable, so very laughable. The emergency room doors opened, and Zachary was wheeled out, surrounded by nurses. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, Olivia, and Evelyn immediately abandoned me, rushing to Zachary's side. Seeing them asking him questions, caring for him endlessly, I felt nauseated. I mocked myself, trying to withstand the dizziness, rolled up my sleeve, stood up, and walked out. Outside the door, I looked one last time at the engagement ring on my finger and, without hesitation, threw it in the trash. If everyone loves Zachary, and no one loves me, then I will love myself. Each time I gave blood to Zachary, I needed a few days to recover. This time was no exception. In the last few days, the Millers have been at the hospital taking care of Zachary and I've been home alone. I had a glass in my hand as I walked out of my room and noticed that Evelyn and Olivia were helping Zachary carefully step into the living room. The two were so detailed and thorough with him. Olivia looked at me coldly as usual, and the tenderness in her eyes suddenly became sarcastic. Just stay at home all day, lazy and useless, good for nothing. Besides drawing a few useless pictures, how can you compare to Zachary? I spend half of my time donating blood to Zachary and resting the rest of the time. I had no time to have hobbies like Zachary. The so-called useless pictures that came out of her mouth were the only dream of my poor life, but she also considered them worthless. I had heard such things too many times, but each time it made my heart hurt. Evelyn glanced at me as usual and helped me out. Nathan is feeling tired from donating blood yesterday. When Evelyn said that, Zachary immediately pretended to be sympathetic. It's okay, I don't need to eat cake so Nathan can get some rest. Olivia looked at me with disgust. She was clearly very dissatisfied with my actions. Zachary, why do you care about him? Everything he does is his duty anyway. He was only born because of you, you're just too kind. As long as you're happy, his existence is meaningful. I understand now. Those straightforward words made my heart tremble fiercely. It was as if countless thick needles were crazily piercing my chest in that moment. During dinner, everyone took care of Zachary diligently. Mr. and Mrs. Miller continuously gave him food. Olivia carefully removed all of the fish bones before placing it in his bowl. The table was full of food that Zachary liked. I bowed my head and quietly scooped rice into my mouth. Suddenly there was a piece of squid in my bowl. I looked up at Evelyn next to me and then looked back at the squid in my bowl. It was difficult for her to manage a bitter smile at this time, but she still needed to pretend to love me a little. Near the end of the meal, Mr. and Mrs. Miller took the initiative to mention the wedding between Evelyn and me. Zachary put down his chopsticks and propped his head up with his hand. Mom and Dad, I felt very weak lately and I'm afraid that I won't be able to attend the wedding, but I really want to witness their happiness. How about postponing the wedding and we wait until I am healthier? Everyone knows that in this family his requests are always fulfilled. There was no need for him to pretend to be embarrassed. Mr. and Mrs. Miller and Olivia of course agreed immediately, only Evelyn stopped for a moment and looked at me to get my opinion. Nathan, do you agree? Zachary used this reason in my past life to postpone the engagement year after year. As long as he didn't agree, Evelyn would never marry me. Thinking of this I laughed at myself and thought whatever, do what you want. I put down my chopsticks and waited for myself to finish eating and then went straight upstairs without looking back at my somewhat decisive back. Evelyn felt for the first time that I seemed to have changed. She couldn't put her finger on what was wrong. I'm definitely different now. Since the wedding had been postponed indefinitely, the two of them naturally didn't need to plan for it anymore. Evelyn now has more time that she can spend traveling with Zachary. Zachary deliberately invited Mr. and Mrs. Miller and Olivia to join him, but not me. Under the pretext that I needed to rest after donating blood. Right, they were a happy and harmonious family. If I went, wouldn't I be a thorn in their sides? Zachary sent me photos whenever he arrived somewhere. The pictures have picturesque scenery. He stood in the middle smiling and receiving kindness from the people around him. Nathan, it's a pity that you can't come. The scenery here is really beautiful. Dad and Mom said that if I like this place, they will buy a house here and you can come live here too. Sister Evelyn said that she will come with me wherever I want to go in the future. Sister Evelyn also gave me a big gift here. Do you want to know what it is? I deleted each of the photos he sent and turned off my phone and started packing my luggage. I just need to persevere for a little longer and I will be completely free. At that moment, there was a rustling sound below. The movements in my hand stopped and a few images suddenly appeared in my mind. I remembered that there was a break-in in the house at this time in my past life. Not only were the priceless jewelry stolen, but all of my paintings were destroyed. Immediately, alarm bells rang in my heart. Money is something external, but my paintings are blood and tears. Thinking of this, I hurriedly packed up my work, called the police, and hid quietly behind the door with a knife. Thanks to the advantage of having experienced it once. This time I finally helped the police catch the bad guy. However, the difference between my strength and the bad guy was too great. Even though I knew what my next action would be, I still couldn't resist the strength of the other party. This time I was not only injured in a few places, but I also fell from the stairs and my face was covered in blood. When the Millers and Evelyn rushed back, they only saw the police car leaving and me sitting pitifully on the sofa. Mr. and Mrs. Miller were stunned, their voices a little stuttering. You caught him alone? Why didn't you call us? These burglars are ruthless, you don't need your life anymore. Olivia, who was usually cold, also rarely showed surprise. A burglar came and you didn't call anyone? What do you mean by that? Are you acting like we are bullying you? I was too tired and didn't even have the strength to speak. I sat on the sofa, and the hand I was holding the knife with was still trembling. Evelyn noticed my movements and took my hand with a little worry. How are you, Nathan? Are you hurt anywhere? Do you need to go to the hospital? You are too stupid, why didn't you notify everyone? I used my strength to pull my hand away from her palm and asked weakly, notify you guys? What's the point of notifying you? Would you guys rush back for me? Everyone was startled, they were clearly at fault but still tried to speak, why wouldn't we? I laughed at myself. In my past life, I called everyone because I believed that they would come back. But in the end, no one answered my phone and I was also discovered by the bad guy because I secretly called and I was tortured to death. Later, I learned that they were all watching fireworks with Zachary that night. Looking at my calm and composed appearance, Evelyn bit her lip slightly. She once again felt that I had really changed. Before, I was weak, but now I no longer rely on them. I was calm as if it had nothing to do with her. Just as she was about to open her mouth, Olivia suddenly found the luggage scattered on the floor. Why are you packing so many things? Where are you planning to go? Evelyn suddenly turned her head and her eyes also became tense. Nathan, what's going on? I was startled in my heart, but I was too busy catching the thief, so I forgot that my luggage was still in the living room. I hid my hand in my sleeve and tightened it slightly and then changed into a calm expression and smiled. Seeing you guys go on vacation, I also want to relax, so I packed my luggage in advance and prepared to choose a place and then I could set off immediately. Mr. and Mrs. Miller immediately turned gloomy. What kind of relaxation? Haven't I told you already, don't leave Zachary more than 10 steps away. Yes, if Zachary needs a blood transfusion and you're not there, then what should he do? You have to know what our purpose was when we had you. Quickly pack your things and you're not allowed to go anywhere without my permission. Seeing that my expression was not different, Evelyn breathed a sigh of relief. The next time you want to go anywhere, just go with everyone, it's not safe alone, you know. I smiled lightly in my heart, but they will never be able to go to where I want to go. A few days later, I received a message from an employee reminding me that the procedures for buying the island had been completed. Now that isolated island was mine and I was overjoyed. I hurriedly called that phone number. The person on the other end of the phone confirmed with me again and again. Mr. Miller, are you sure that you will go to the island in 3 days? I have never been as firm as I am now. Yes, I'm sure. The employee replied, okay, Mr. Miller, we will take you to the island on time in 3 days. Just as the phone hung up, Evelyn suddenly pushed the door open and walked in. What island are you going to? I put the phone away and changed the subject, it's nothing. Sister Evelyn, why are you looking for me? She didn't ask further and just replied, your previous entry in the competition has won an award. The organizing committee invited you to receive the award the day after tomorrow. Evelyn didn't mention that I almost forgot. I'm very good at drawing. A month ago, I qualified for the finals of a prestigious domestic competition and I didn't expect that I actually won an award. The day I received the award, Zachary said that the family will definitely go to the scene with me to support. Nathan, you are my brother, of course we have to witness your glory. But he changed the subject, looked slightly regretful, and sighed, it would be great if I could also win an award. It's a pity that my health is not good so I don't have time to learn to draw, but it's okay if you win an award, it's like I won an award. I didn't answer him and felt a bad feeling in my heart. The award ceremony began and it was finally time to announce the winner of the gold award. I sat under the stage so nervous that I was sweating. This award was very important to me. It was recognition for my work and affirmation from colleagues in the industry. The host took out the list of winners and his face suddenly showed doubt, but after a moment he returned to normal and announced, let's congratulate the gold award winner, Zachary Miller. The stage was in an uproar. Everyone had never heard this name before. They lowered their voices and whispered in disgust. Who is this Zachary Miller? Is he new to the industry? I don't know. I clearly heard that the gold award this time should belong to painter Nathan Miller. I stood there stunned before finally reacting. Just as I was about to stand up and question the organizing committee, Olivia pulled me down. Come on, I contacted the organizing committee to change the person an hour ago to let Zachary go on stage. Zachary likes the feeling of being honored. In the future, all of your works will be published under Zachary's name. I couldn't believe it. I turned my head around and Mr. and Mrs. Miller were proudly looking at Zachary on the stage and looked back at me casually. Don't argue with your brother. It's just an award. Evelyn's eyes were silent and all of her attention was on Zachary shining on the stage. She didn't notice my pale face at all. At that time, my whole body was icy cold. Once again Zachary stole the spotlight that belonged to me and all of them were accomplices. Amidst the applause of everyone, the Millers shone. Okay, here's the rewritten passage, aiming for consistency in names, terms, and tone with a Western cultural setting, focusing on upper-class family dynamics. Thanks to everyone, Zachary said, pointedly excluding me. Back at the Miller residence, I went to my room and packed up all my artwork, and the figurines I'd saved for 3 months to buy, the handcrafted dolls I would lock myself in my room to play with as a kid. The clothes and shoes that were torn and ragged. Then, I carried these things to the living room and dumped everything in front of Zachary. Zachary startled. Nathan, what are you doing? I pointed to the items on the floor, my voice calm. Didn't they tell me to give all my artwork to you? Well, it's not just my artwork, all my stuff is yours now. Saying this, I swept my gaze over everyone, scoffing internally, not like Mom, Dad, or Olivia need it. It's all yours. I went back to my room, skipped dinner, and locked myself in. As I packed my bags, my parents kept complaining outside the door, as if I were throwing a tantrum. Now you're really becoming more and more stubborn. It's just a few paintings, need you throw a tantrum like this? Over their lamentations, Evelyn gently knocked on my door. Nathan, don't be angry. Can you come out and eat something? I turned my head toward the door, filled with resentment, but my eyes were dry. Outside, Olivia impatiently pulled Evelyn away. Evelyn, don't bother with him. He just likes to make a scene. I want to see how long he can starve himself. I smirked. Tomorrow I leave, the next day I will be up early and gone. But to my surprise, the Millers were already gone when I woke up. Opening my phone, I found out what happened. Apparently, they had taken Zachary to Mount Heron early this morning to pray for good fortune. I heard the temple was very sacred, but you had to walk up there yourself and hang a wishboard before sunrise. No wonder they left so early, it was to pray for Zachary. Every person on my social media feed posted something. The photos and the content of the wishboards were all about Zachary. Dad, hoping Zachary will be safe and happy forever. Mom, my little darling, may your wishes come true and everything you ask for be granted. Olivia, wishing Zachary a carefree life, free from worry. Evelyn didn't post a picture of Zachary. She just uploaded a photo of the words on the wishboard, wishing you peace. For 5 long years, Evelyn had hung countless wishboards on this tree. Someone who didn't believe in ghosts and gods, nearly every year she would still come to this temple to pray, all because her board had those words from me. I always thought the person in her heart was me. Until I was dying, I learned the truth. In the end, every wishboard had Zachary's name. It turns out I had moved myself for so many years. It was all a joke. Fortunately, heaven gave me a chance to do it again, and I am now fully awake, not repeating the same mistakes. Ding. A text message popped up. Mr. Miller, welcome to the island. Please go to the airport now. We will have staff to pick you up. Wishing you every day on the island filled with happiness, peace, and free of worry. I smiled, closed my phone, and placed the disownment papers that I had prepared for so long on the table. Before leaving, something occurred to me. I took off the necklace around my neck. This was a family heirloom that Evelyn had given me after my successful confession. She said that whoever wore this necklace would be her husband, the future man of the Sterling family. But now, I no longer wanted to be that man. I placed the heirloom on top of the disownment papers, grabbed my luggage, and pushed open the door. At this moment, my phone suddenly vibrated continuously. I paused, still picked up the phone, and the screen showed over a dozen missed calls. In order, Mom, Dad, Olivia, and Evelyn. I opened the group chat and countless messages tagging me immediately appeared. Nathan. Zachary accidentally slipped and fell down the mountain, losing a lot of blood. Quickly come to the hospital and give him a transfusion. Be there in half an hour. If anything happens to Zachary, I'll hold you accountable. I paused for a moment, then expressionlessly pressed leave group chat and blocked each contact one by one. From now on, I was no longer Zachary's blood bag, no longer the second son of the Millers, no longer the younger brother of Olivia, and certainly not the fiancé of Evelyn. I am me, and only me. I turned around for one last look at the place I had lived for over 20 years, then dragged my luggage and walked, without looking back, toward the car that was waiting for me. The car drove away, leaving behind only a broken SIM card on the ground. In the hospital, Zachary lay on the bed, his face as white as a sheet, his lips devoid of color, his eyes closed, his brow furrowed as if immersed in endless pain. My parents walked anxiously around the room, while Olivia frantically made phone calls, trying to contact me, but the other end of the line always delivered the cold voice, "The number you are calling has been disconnected." Evelyn stood beside them, a hint of darkness flashing in her eyes. She took out her phone and made a short call. "Find me a person with type O negative blood. Get them to the hospital immediately, no matter the cost." After speaking, she hung up the phone and turned to Zachary's bedside, her eyes filled with worry and anxiety. After the transfusion process, Zachary's complexion gradually recovered a little. My parents and Olivia all breathed a sigh of relief. Evelyn looked at Zachary, her eyes still filled with worry. She said, "Zachary, rest well. I'll go home and check on Nathan." Evelyn hurried back to the Miller residence. As soon as she entered, she sensed an unusual quiet. She walked into the living room, saw the disownment agreement and the heirloom on the table, and her face immediately went pale. She picked up the agreement, looked at my signature on it, and her hand couldn't help but tremble. My parents and Olivia then came home. Seeing the items on the table, they were all stunned. My mom was the first to react. She picked up the agreement and tore it to pieces, yelling, "This unfilial little beast. How dare he do this?" My dad's expression also became very ugly, saying that I was definitely throwing a tantrum and wanted to break off relations with the Millers and end my engagement with the Sterlings. "He's just a brat. I want to see where he can go without us. Won't he bow his head and run back in a few days?" Olivia also scoffed, saying, "That's right. He definitely wants to attract our attention. I think he really needs to be taught a lesson. Just ignore him. We should still go to the hospital and look after Zachary. He can throw a fit whenever he wants, but he deliberately does it when Zachary is hurt. If anything happens to Zachary, I will never forgive him." With that, the whole Miller family slammed the door and left, leaving only Evelyn gripping the family heirloom tightly in her hand, feeling a vague sense of unease in her heart. Is he really just throwing a tantrum? Will he really come back in a few days? Will she just come back? After all, they haven't held their wedding, and she thought I loved her that much, I would definitely come back. She said to herself again and again, then put the necklace in her chest and hurried out of the house. The Millers and Evelyn rushed back to the hospital, anxiously heading towards Zachary's hospital room. Just as they reached the door, they heard Zachary's voice from inside, as if he were talking on the phone. This time, pretending to fall down the mountain really exhausted me. I really used a lot of effort to chase him away. Over the years, it was either fainting or falling down the stairs. Last time, I deliberately mistook the accelerator for the brake and ran him over, but he was able to endure it. But luckily, everything is over. Once I chase him away, no one will compete with me anymore. I don't need to pretend to be weak anymore. Hearing these words, everyone was struck by lightning, standing still in shock. How could Zachary do such a thing? They always thought he was weak and innocent, but they didn't expect that it was all his conspiracy. My parents and Olivia rushed into the hospital room, their faces ashen. Zachary saw them, his face immediately pale, and the phone fell to the ground with a thud. "Zachary, why would you do such a thing?" My mom's voice trembled, her eyes filled with disbelief. Zachary hurriedly ran to them and grabbed them. "Mom, Dad, I was wrong. I was just too afraid of losing your love. You only have one son, one daughter, but you gave birth to Nathan. I was afraid that he would steal the pampering you gave me." Hearing this, my dad and mom became irrational. "He was born for you, how can we treat him better than we treat you over the years? Has the pampering you received decreased or increased?" Have you not been able to see why you have been using this method? Olivia was also unbearably angry. I thought you were really hurt on accident during that car accident. Only worrying about comforting you. I can't even believe you did that, Zachary, you have truly disappointed me. Seeing my mom and dad were angry, Zachary immediately recovered and grabbed their sleeves and said bitterly, I didn't mean to. I'm not always doing things that disappoint you with that goal in mind. You love me the most. Please forgive me, Dad. Every time you lost sleep and had a headache, it was me who made the aromatherapy to help. Olivia, when there was an earthquake, I was the one who saved you from the rubble. There was a hint of wavering in Olivia's eyes, and my parents also revealed a look of reluctance. Zachary looked at Evelyn, his face full of grievance. Evelyn, you like me, don't you? That time when I played the piano in the flower garden, you fell in love with me right away. He was only born to provide blood to me. I know it's not right for me to let him donate blood so many times, but I couldn't stand him stealing your love. Evelyn frowned, feeling a mix of emotions. She always thought Zachary was a kind and innocent boy, but she didn't expect him to be so scheming. At that moment, the maid, who had been quietly standing next to them, suddenly stepped forward and knelt down with tears in her eyes, saying, Sir, Madam, I really can't bear it anymore. I have to tell the truth. You have all been deceived by Zachary. The maid said loudly, Sir, Madam, every time you can't sleep or have a headache, it was Nathan who made the aromatherapy by hand. Zachary only took credit for it. During the earthquake that year, it was Nathan who risked his life to carry her out of the rubble, not Zachary. When Zachary played the piano in the garden, it was Nathan who was actually playing. Zachary deliberately pretended to be in front of you, Evelyn, which led to you both making a mistake. The maid's words were like bombs exploding in the hospital room. The Millers and Evelyn stood still, their faces full of shock and regret. They couldn't believe that the truth was so cruel. Zachary's face was as white as paper. He looked at the maid in horror and shouted, What nonsense are you talking about? I didn't. Those accolades were all me. The maid smiled bitterly, Zachary, you are the one who made that so obvious, but I know why Nathan never received the love of his parents. His sister didn't love him, and even his fiancée didn't truly love him. But you knew I was working with him for the entire time. And what I'm really confused with is that he's always been so great with working and living with that. One time I asked him why he didn't tell the truth. He said that if I say the truth they will never believe me. Anyway, everyone loves Zachary, no one loves me. He said he sometimes really wishes he had never lived in this world. The house manager's statement nearly caused the members of the Miller family and Evelyn to be unable to stand up. Zachary couldn't listen anymore. He jumped up, pointed at the maid, and scolded, You old woman. You dare to distort the facts. You must have taken money from him to say nonsense here. The maid smiled sadly, Zachary, your monthly living expenses are $10,000, but how much does Nathan have? Each month he only gets $600. Where would he get the money to bribe me? I've stayed in the Miller residence for so many years. I really can't bear to see Nathan being bullied by you so much. When the Millers and Evelyn heard the maid's words, they were even more shocked. Evelyn trembled as she asked, You only give Nathan $600 in living expenses each month? My parents looked at each other, their voices trembling, We don't give it to him. It's just that we sometimes remember and give him a few hundred. I was just not at the top of my mind most of the time. Olivia's face turned even paler. For some reason, she suddenly remembered my torn clothes and old shoes. And she often caught me working part-time outside. At that time, what did she do? She scolded me. She scolded me, a young master of the Miller family, for running out to do part-time jobs. What kind of person was I? Did the Millers not give me money? At that time, I just lowered my head and didn't say anything, but my eyes were red. Thinking about it now, didn't they not give me money? And because I had to be ready to give blood to Zachary at any time, I couldn't even have normal interactions or work. Her head was dizzy, and the many emotions surging in her chest made her unable to breathe. Zachary saw that he couldn't say anything back to the maid and hurriedly ran to his parents and said, Mom and Dad, I am your biological son. I am the one you really love. Evelyn is going to marry me. They've decided to take away the fact that I'm your biological son after they just met. The maid was the one who helped me, and with her I was also able to get closer. Why are you so easily swayed? If that was me before, that would not have been a problem. But just 10 minutes ago, they had heard him call with their own ears. He said proudly how I pretended to be injured to take the opportunity to chase him away. My parents and Olivia for the first time pushed away his hand, their eyes filled with disappointment. Evelyn's face turned pale and she made a phone call, asking someone to investigate some things for me. At that moment, Zachary suddenly fell to the ground. He knew he was done. His assistant did not dare to delay and quickly began to investigate. Soon, a detailed report was sent to Evelyn. The report not only confirmed all the words of the maid, but also revealed many more of Zachary's evil deeds. Evelyn looked at the report, her hands trembling with anger. She handed the report to the Millers. After reading it, everyone's faces turned as white as if struck by lightning. It turned out that Zachary had not only taken all the credit for me when I was in school, but also arranged for people to bully me in various ways. No wonder they always saw me coming home covered in injuries during that period. But they not only didn't care, but also scolded me for not knowing who I was hanging out with all day long. Not as good as his older brother. There was even one time when he deliberately arranged for hooligans to beat me up. If I hadn't run fast, I would have been beaten to death by those hooligans that time. The most hateful thing was that the thief who broke into the house was also arranged by him. The goal was to have me killed. You bastard. My parents couldn't believe that their outwardly obedient son could do such cruel things. Olivia was filled with regret as she looked at Zachary, with a burning flame of anger in her eyes. Zachary, Nathan is your brother. How could you do such a thing? Zachary saw that the situation was hopeless, so he had no choice but to take a gamble. He laughed crazily. That's right. I did it all. So what? I just want him to disappear. I want to have everything. You said you only love me. Only I am your son. So why did you give birth to him? Anyway, he was born to give blood to me. But why does he have to beg for your love? Doing so many things for you. Isn't that making me, as an older brother, look very useless? And Evelyn, obviously I liked you first. Why did the first person she met back in the country that she had to be so nice to that day? I had to play the piano in the garden that was being played, making Evelyn fall in love with him right away. When someone asks who plays I had to lie, of course I had to replace it. His laughter echoed in the hospital room, making people cringe. The Millers and Evelyn all looked at him with disgusted eyes, as if he were a demon from hell. Zachary, you will pay the price for what you have done. Evelyn said coldly. Zachary didn't care. What can you do to me? Okay, here is the rewritten passage, aiming for consistency in names, terms, and tone, while grounding it in a more recognizable American context and upper-class family dynamic. Me? I'm a Miller. You wouldn't dare touch me. Zachary retorted. At this point, Dad stepped forward. From today forward, you are no longer a son of the Miller family. We are completely severing all parental ties. Zachary's eyes widened. He didn't expect Dad to be so decisive. Mom, Dad, Olivia, Evelyn. I can't lose everything. I have hemophilia. If you kick me out of the Miller family and I am no longer a Miller, how will I survive? He tried to plead, but the Millers were completely disillusioned with him and didn't care about his pleas. Evelyn turned and walked out of the hospital room. She wants to find me, tell me everything, beg for my forgiveness. Maybe she finally realized that I was the one she truly loved. Maybe, but considering everything she's done to me in the past, maybe I already knew the truth about her interest in me and that was why she was leaving so decisively this time. Even her old family heirloom, she left it with me and returned it to my care instead. Her words, not mine, it's all her fault. Why couldn't she see me before? She just couldn't see who I was no matter what. But considering that, she shouldn't feel bad because she was always a couple of steps away from marrying the man she was meant to be with. After that there was nothing to stop her, that's if it ever had to be that hard. No matter what happened the two would have always found each other. Why couldn't she understand that? She also couldn't handle losing me and that was why she found my secret phone. Discovering that she couldn't reach me on my cell phone, Evelyn mobilized all of her connections, practically turning the city upside down, but there was still no news of me. Her eyes were filled with fatigue and worry, and each unsuccessful search was like a knife stabbing into her heart. My parents and Olivia were also as anxious as fire. They kept vigil by the phone day and night, expecting news of me. Mom cried all day, constantly blaming herself. It's all our fault. We pushed Nathan away. If we had discovered Zachary's scheme earlier and treated Nathan a little better, the boy wouldn't have left us. Dad's face was also full of regret. His back seemed to have hunched over overnight, his former dashing demeanor gone, replaced by an old man, worried about his son. Olivia was like a headless fly, asking everywhere. She asked everyone she met if they had seen me, but always received a disappointing answer. As time went by, everyone's anxiety grew more severe, almost falling into despair. Evelyn began to expand the scope of the search. If she couldn't find me in the city, she would search the whole country. If she couldn't find me in the whole country, she would search the whole world. Dad and Mom plastered photos of me in every corner, hoping that someone good would provide a clue. Olivia also posted countless articles searching for me online, detailing my physical characteristics and the circumstances of my disappearance, but it was still like a stone sinking to the bottom of the sea. One day, a private investigator called, saying, "A young man who resembles him seems to have been discovered in a remote town." Evelyn immediately drove over, her heart racing. Her heart was full of both hope and fear of disappointment. When she arrived in that town, she went to the address provided by the investigator and found that it was just a misunderstanding. That young man only had a back figure slightly similar to mine. When he turned around, Evelyn's heart immediately sank to the bottom. Returning home, the Millers saw her disappointed expression, and the last shred of hope in their hearts vanished. Mom collapsed to the ground, crying loudly. Dad sat silently beside her, holding his head in his hands, tears falling through his fingers. Olivia angrily punched the sofa. She shouted, "Nathan, where are you? Why do you have to punish us like this?" Just when everyone was about to give up, Evelyn suddenly remembered what I had once said: "My greatest dream is to be in a place isolated from the world, freely painting and living a peaceful life." An idea flashed in her head: could I have gone to a remote island? Evelyn immediately perked up. She began to investigate remote islands. After a difficult search, she finally discovered some clues on a remote island. She led the Millers nonstop to that island. When they set foot on the island and saw the beautiful and peaceful scenery, their hearts were filled with hope. They searched everywhere for my figure. The sound of Evelyn's heartbeat echoed in her ears, and the palms of her hands were covered in sweat. Finally, under a coconut tree, they saw a familiar back. That back was focused on painting, and everything around them seemed to have nothing to do with me. Evelyn slowly stepped forward, her voice trembling as she called, "Nathan?" My body stiffened slightly. I slowly turned around and saw the Millers and Evelyn in front of me. A hint of surprise flashed in my eyes, but I quickly returned to calm. "Why are you here?" My voice was very soft, but in this quiet island, it was extremely clear. Mom couldn't restrain herself anymore. She rushed forward, hugged me tightly, and sobbed, "Nathan, I'm sorry. I was wrong. We've been looking for you so hard." Dad and Olivia also stepped forward, their eyes full of regret and emotion. Evelyn stood aside, silently looking at me. In her heart, there were thousands of words she wanted to say, but she didn't know where to start. She knew that it was their fault that had caused me so much pain. She was afraid that her reapproach would hurt me. I frowned, not understanding why these people had suddenly changed their personalities. I coldly pushed the person in front of me away and said, "Have you mistaken me for someone else? Please look clearly. I am Nathan Miller, not Zachary Miller, whom you love." Hearing these words, everyone only felt a heart-wrenching pain. Olivia couldn't restrain herself anymore, grabbed my hand, and clearly explained everything, saying that they knew the things Zachary had done over the years and also knew the grievances I had suffered. They understood more clearly that the person they should really love was not Zachary, but me, the person who truly put them in their hearts. Olivia said, full of regret, her eyes red. But I only looked at them coldly and smiled coldly. "So you have learned Zachary's true colors and now you want to find me, the son? Isn't it too late?" Mom heard this and tears burst from her eyes. She took a step forward to take my hands. "Nathan, Mom was wrong. Mom really knows that I am my son. My son can't have me." I avoided my mother's hand and shook my head. Everything could not be turned back to the way it was. Here, I have a new life and new family. Mom turned pale. "What do you mean, by my new family?" I calmly and slowly said, "A few days ago I saved a couple and a woman on the shore of the island. They are all a family to thank me for saving their lives. They let me adopt them as their godparents and sister. I have no siblings, so I was adopted. I'm now one. They have treated me like their own son these days, giving me unparalleled care and warmth." Evelyn's heart shuddered. Nathan, don't you even know who they are? How can you be easily involved with them? Listen to me, come back with me. Our wedding is coming up. It's just that I wasn't good before and got the wrong person. Can you forgive me? I looked toward Evelyn, my eyes with a hint of coldness. Evelyn, do you really think that everything can be forgiven with just an apology? I used to yearn for your love so much, but you only gave me hurt. I don't need it anymore. The wedding is not needed. I don't need it either. Mom, please come quickly. Mom, don't say that. Mom is wrong. The person that matters the most is you. My real mother, you said that would make me so happy. You did such a wonderful job. I can never thank you enough for doing what you did. I know now. I'm so glad you saved those people, but I want you to be with me, Nathan. I'm sorry I haven't been the best. I'll always be there for you and your needs ***. Mom listened well, so she just walked quickly and the two of them worked together but never got in my face. And I thank the heavens for it, the two of them really wanted me home ***. I shook my head with a smile. All of you, just give up. I have what I need now, but the old man wasn't getting the message. It was pretty obvious he wanted me as well. If they ever tell you to go back there, you can just leave. I don't think it's that great in the first place, to begin with, said Evelyn. Mom knitted and looked at Dad. He asked, they raised you well then? And where are they? Are they here now? I nodded without worry. I love it. I'm glad to hear it. And the old man looked over and smiled at me, and there was no shame on his face. Olivia then came forth. Nathan, I never meant you to get hurt. Mom told me to be nice to you. They told me to leave you with them and they made me promise, and I will give you $300,000 a month to support yourself. I then laughed. I don't need any money from you people. That day was the best day in the history of Nathan. I didn't see any pain on any of their faces, not that the old men even gave a damn, but there was zero pain here on their faces for sure. I started my life with the women that I had saved in the past. Then I looked over to the crowd of men. I took one glance to Mom and Dad, and winked to my sister. Good night, everyone. I said to the crowd. Thank God, said Dad. Mom couldn't do anything because I was taken care of, and my sister winked with me on the side and gave Mom a nudge. I have to go to work. That would be the last and final time that I would ever have contact with the Miller family. Good job, son, said Mom. I didn't see the hate, maybe I was just too busy. I just hugged and took a group picture of these loving, caring women. And I never asked what they did either, that was too personal. I also didn't give them time to even think. I had been there for the past 20 years. It was so fast that I had never even met their real boyfriends yet. What did they do for a living? Nothing to write home about, I am sure. What matters is that they were a warm and loving home. Not the hellhole that I had been used to for the past 20 years. Suddenly she remembered something and turned her head to look over to the Miller family, a scene that made her skin shiver a little. Mom! I shouted with all the energy that I had at the moment, for what could be the last time ever. I wanted her to understand for the first time ever, that whatever the hell that she had, I didn't like it. The Miller's family had a look of terror for the look of happiness that they were getting on this side for the first time. Her mind reeled with fear. I would never belong to her. With this thought Mom said, wherever you are we will be. For some reason no one really gave a damn. 3 days later, I left the island with Mom, and the two ladies closely following was the Miller family. As soon as she got off the plane I went to the home and the Miller family wasn't allowed. I'm so sorry, this is a home. Private homes only, it would never happen, I'm done. In their conversations with them for those past few days they never wanted me at all. After I walked in it was a castle that I had never seen before. They were really wealthy and kind with all the people that are living on that side. Dad smiled and said to me, this will be your home, please give our apologies to the wonderful women outside. Mom had always taken me so well and had always been there for all of us. She whispered a lot and was always loving and kind with all of us as well. And it was really good. The women started to say that if there was anything that was possible here. But the women shook. I think Dad saved this bit for me, or Mom. But everyone was so open that it felt kind of weird, and that had always been the case as well. What am I to do? Nothing. They're family and just family. They can always be as loud as they want. Mom, I never could have. I love this. You want to come back? I love you. I quickly pulled back a few steps and was still trying to go forward. There's no way. I love you. I am happy with my mother. Okay, here's the revised passage, maintaining the established tone, characterizations, and American setting context, while incorporating the specified plot points. How did everyone treat you before? From now on, they'll only treat you better. I was stunned. I just felt I wasn't worthy, not worthy of such good parents, not worthy of such a good family. Hearing this, Mom, Dad, and Lauren fell silent, remembering my background that had just been investigated. Lauren took a deep breath and said gently, "Nathan, you are the best guy in the world. You have to know you deserve the best." Deserve? The three of them nodded at the same time, firmly. My eyes turned red. All right, then I'll stay. The days at the Sterling household were like living in a beautiful dream, surrounded by endless love. My parents took care of me attentively, preparing the breakfasts I loved every morning. Lauren was always by my side. She took me to every corner of the mansion. She even took me to the mansion's private theater, showing me her favorite movies. The two of us leaned against each other on the plush sofa, sharing our thoughts. When I expressed my desire to continue painting, the Sterling family fully supported me. Dad created a spacious, bright, and fully equipped art studio for me, filled with high-end drawing tools and precious paints. Mom searched everywhere for the works of famous artists for me to admire and learn from. She also invited famous painting teachers to guide me. Lauren was often with me, spending quiet and wonderful afternoons in the studio, silently watching me intently as I painted. The love in her eyes grew deeper and deeper. The Sterling family often held grand parties, inviting celebrities and important people. Every time they met, they proudly introduced me to everyone, treating me as one of their family. I gradually became confident and cheerful at these occasions. My handsomeness and talent also shone before everyone. Lauren always held my arm tightly, making me feel extremely secure. When I fell ill, the Sterling family's care was even more thorough. Dad immediately contacted the world's top medical team and conducted a comprehensive examination and treatment for me. Mom personally cooked nutritious soup and fed me spoonful by spoonful. Lauren kept vigil by my bedside day and night, always monitoring my condition, her eyes full of worry and heartache. Under the love of the Sterling family and Lauren, I was reborn. I was no longer the self-conscious, timid boy who endured injustice, but a young man full of light, surrounded by love. At the same time, the Millers and Evelyn were racking their brains, trying every way to beg for my forgiveness. Mom and Dad wrote long apology letters by hand every day, recalling every childhood memory and expressing their deep regret. However, I always remained indifferent to these things. My new life at the Sterling household was full and happy. The love and care that the Sterlings gave me made me gradually learn to let go of the pain of the past. But this didn't mean that I could easily forgive the Millers and Evelyn, who had hurt me so deeply. Until this day, I received a letter from Evelyn, saying that she wanted to meet me once. I clutched Evelyn's letter. I struggled in my heart for a long time, but finally decided to go to the meeting place, just to be able to completely cut off all the past ties. I carefully chose a simple shirt, casually combed my hair, trying to face everything that might happen with the calmest attitude. When I arrived at that abandoned warehouse, the strong, rotting smell assaulted me. Dim lights flickered in the corner, and the heavy darkness made people cringe. I carefully stepped into the warehouse, my eyes vigilantly looking around. Suddenly, a figure slowly walked out of the corner of the room. I looked closely and found that it was Zachary, dressed as a beggar. His hair was as messy as dry grass, his clothes were torn, his face was dirty, and his eyes revealed an unpredictable look. "Nathan, you've come." Zachary's voice was hoarse and dry, like an echo from hell. I was startled, instinctively taking a step back, and vigilantly asked, "What are you doing here?" "Where's Evelyn?" Zachary laughed coldly and slowly approached me. "Evelyn? Do you think she could still easily meet you? Today it's just you and me." I frowned, and a sense of unease rose in my heart. "Zachary, what do you want to do? We have nothing more to say to each other." Zachary suddenly laughed crazily, his laughter echoing in the empty warehouse. "You have nothing to say? You stole everything from me. Now you are a young master loved by billionaires, and I was kicked out of the Miller family, and have nothing. I became a beggar. Why is that?" A surge of anger rose in my heart. "I stole everything from you? Don't forget, from childhood to adulthood, you were always the one stealing my things. It was you who made me a blood bag. It was you who made me endure all the pain." Saying this, he took out a spray bottle and sprayed it at me. I couldn't stop it in time and completely lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself tightly bound. Zachary was holding a knife to my neck. He'd called both of our families. He wanted to see now how much they cared about. Soon after, footsteps came from afar to the warehouse. The Sterling family and Lauren arrived first. When Lauren saw me being controlled, her eyes immediately turned red and she roared at Zachary, "Let him go. If you dare to touch a hair on his head, I'll make you die without a burial place." My parents were also horrified and angry. "What sin has Nathan committed against you that you have to treat him like this?" Next, the Millers and Evelyn also rushed over. When Mom saw this scene, she collapsed to the ground, crying uncontrollably. "Oh, my son. Zachary, how could you be like this?" Dad's eyes were blazing as he stared at Zachary. "You unfilial son, doing such a heaven-defying thing. How could the Miller family have someone like you?" Evelyn was full of self-blame and anxiety. She stared at the knife in Zachary's hand, afraid that he would hurt me in a moment of impulse. She said softly, "Zachary, if you have anything, just aim at me. Let Nathan go. He's innocent." Zachary looked at everyone's reaction, his face revealing a distorted smile. He waved the knife in his hand, crazily saying, "Innocent? He stole everything from me. My family. My love. And I'm going to fix it right now." Next, a look of viciousness flashed in his eyes, staring at everyone present. He shouted, "Oh yeah? You care about him so much? Then you all kneel down." I looked at him in disbelief. "Zachary, what are you talking about?" Even before I was done it. Lauren was the first to kneel down. Next were Mom and Dad, then Evelyn. Then came Mom, Dad, and Olivia, all kneeling before him. "We've kneeled. Please spare Nathan." Seeing this scene, Zachary looked at everyone kneeling before him. He didn't seem satisfied, but only became even more insane. "You love him so much that you're even willing to kneel for him? What about me? Mom, Dad, Olivia, Evelyn. You clearly loved me the most before." Zachary's gaze swept over the Millers and Evelyn, his eyes full of pain and madness intertwined. "And the Sterlings? Aren't you the most noble family? Aren't you the richest billionaires in the world? Billionaires. Yet you just kneel down for an inconvenience. Why is that? Why? Not to mention the evil, and that was not for me. The problem was you would think a family is loving that it will last, and instead of lasting it was more of I would never go with the girl." Lauren's face fell with rage, and that was the most impressive. "As long as you let him go, you can tell me to die, and I'm willing." Dad looked at Zachary with his face like a monster. It was almost cartoonish with all the tears and fears in his eyes, and the rest of my family were there for sure. Dad looked at Zachary, his eyes full of heartbreak and helplessness. He said in a trembling voice, "Zachary, we used to love you very much, but look at what you've done. You have hurt Nathan one time too many. Your heart has been filled with jealousy and hatred." Mom cried and begged, "Wake up. Don't make more mistakes. Hurting me won't make me happy." Olivia was full of sadness and anger. She gritted her teeth and said, "Zachary, you weren't like this before. What on earth has made you become like this?" Evelyn said sternly, "Zachary, you can't make any more mistakes. I am my brother, please leave my brother out of this, all of you do so. They have nothing to do with anything and you want to get over here and start fighting. Everyone will get to me." Zachary ignored them all, but that's what everyone thinks happens at a family party. He suddenly stopped his movements and revealed a weird smile. He held the knife to my neck and led me to the door. After a while, he took out a remote control from his pocket. "Don't even think about coming over. I prepared it all. There are hidden bombs here. As long as I press this button, all of you will have to die." Everyone was shocked, not expecting Zachary to be so crazy that he would even use bombs. Before they could react, Zachary pushed me inside and threw the bomb down. He turned around, left, and locked the door. I had never been hurt before and not even a damn minute from them, so why would they love them? So many of them hurt, almost like someone hated. Mom came in and the bomb was launched at my feet, but I'll never tell the story of how everyone fought it for me to live. Instead, I'm skipping forward. Because that had never happened to me and there was no fear here. Everyone was happy, and it could never be ruined again. Finally, the doors opened and there was so much good energy in the room now. At the door, I embraced the three women like never before. "Thank you for all that you have done here. It's clear that someone here was happy and it made it hard to not tear it all down. All the women looked at my eyes and then they faded to gray. The Millers and Evelyn looked to take it all away from them. Mom had it first. She made up all the memories in one night when she was a toddler and couldn't even tell stories. Everyone was there and looked terrified. I didn't hold back, and I'll never leave them now. In that moment everyone was saved, for there ever was a hate crime there or not, it would never touch us here. Here's the rewritten passage, aligned with American cultural norms and the established character dynamics, focusing on a more mature and reflective tone. I looked at Lauren with affection and said what needed to be said to her to move on. In that moment, she said she felt her world had completely collapsed on her. She looked at me and Lauren hugging each other, her eyes full of despair. But what's important is that I wasn't paying attention to Evelyn, so as I hugged my mom, I let it flow and looked up slowly to all my moms. She raised an eyebrow with love, and she said, "Is it over?" Lauren read my eyes. I gently lifted her face, slowly moving closer. Our lips gradually touched, kissing tenderly amidst everyone's blessings. This kiss was not only a declaration of our love for each other, but also a symbol of my complete break with the past. Evelyn, watching this scene, felt a pain that went straight to her heart. Then he said, "Are you ready to spend the day with your brother? Why can't you forgive me? Why must it all end like this?" Her voice was almost a whisper, and if you listened closely enough, you could hear it crack and fail right before the end, and you couldn't imagine such a beautiful creature could be so torn to bits. Mom tried to comfort her, but nothing had worked. But the world has much more to offer than a simple story. The sudden appearance of Zachary caused the whole garden to fall into chaos at once. I looked at this scene in disbelief and shouted loudly, "Zachary! You've committed a crime. Hell will only make your sins worse. Stop right now." But Zachary ignored me. He stepped closer and closer to me, constantly muttering, "It's you. It's all because of you. You put me in prison and made me suffer all kinds of torture in there. Today is the day you die." His eyes were full of hatred, as if he wanted to swallow me alive. The Millers were also caught off guard by this sudden change and didn't know what to do. Just as Zachary raised the knife, preparing to stab me hard, a figure suddenly rushed out. Evelyn, without any hesitation, stood in front of me and shouted, "Aim at me instead." A look of madness flashed in Zachary's eyes. The knife in his hand didn't stop at all, stabbing straight into Evelyn's chest. "Mom, don't." But Zachary had snapped now, and all I was thinking was more people will get hurt, said my brother, Alex. There was no more to be hurt, so to speak, it just didn't stop. In this perilous situation, the Millers finally reacted. Dad, without any hesitation, rushed forward, using his body to shield me and shouted, "Zachary! You're crazy! Stop right now!" But Zachary, like a mad beast, couldn't hear anything at all. The knife in his hand stabbed straight into Dad. Dad couldn't avoid it in time, and his abdomen was stabbed. Fresh blood immediately stained his clothes red, but he still tried to endure the pain, protecting me tightly. Mom saw her husband being injured and shouted in horror, but she didn't hesitate to rush forward, trying to hug Zachary, preventing him from committing further crimes. "Zachary, what are you doing? He's your brother." Mom cried and wailed, her voice full of pain and despair. Zachary pushed her away, Mom fell to the ground, and then he raised the knife again, stabbing towards me. Olivia, seeing this, was heartbroken and rushed over, blocking that fatal stab with her arm. Olivia cried out in pain, blood flowing from her arm, but she didn't retreat. She protected me tightly. When Zachary still wanted to continue attacking, Evelyn, enduring the pain in her shoulder, rushed up again. Seeing the family run into the door, she used all her strength to hug Zachary tightly from behind, shouting, "Lauren! Get Nathan out of here!" Lauren didn't have time to ask what happened, so she quickly pulled me out of the garden. Zachary struggled frantically. The knife in his hand swung wildly, leaving several more wounds on Evelyn, but she still didn't let go. "Zachary, wake up. Hatred will only make you fall into endless pain." At this moment, the sound of police sirens rang outside the garden. Hearing the siren, Zachary's movements gradually slowed, and a hint of fear and confusion flashed in his eyes. The knife in his hand fell to the ground with a clatter, and he collapsed to the ground. The police quickly rushed into the banquet hall, subdued Zachary, and took him away. Mom and Lauren hurried back to take the injured to the hospital. The Millers were all stabbed, and the most seriously injured was Evelyn. After the surgery, the Millers woke up one after another. Dad slowly opened his eyes, saw me watching his hospital bed, and a complex look flashed in his eyes, with regret and comfort. After Mom woke up, she grabbed my hand, tears welling up in her eyes. "Nathan, Mom is sorry." Olivia also weakly called her brother, her eyes full of regret. However, Evelyn's condition wasn't optimistic. The doctor gravely informed me that Evelyn, due to her severe injuries, was at risk of becoming a vegetable. Hearing this news, I felt dizzy, my heart filled with mixed emotions. I spent these days and nights watching her at the hospital, running back and forth between the hospital rooms, taking care of the Millers and Evelyn with all my heart. I wiped Dad down, fed Mom, and helped Olivia change her medicine. Every action was serious and focused. The Millers, watching my busy figure, felt even more regret. Dad tried to open his mouth several times, but didn't know what to say. Finally, one afternoon, Dad pulled me back as I was about to leave the hospital room. His voice trembling, he said, "Nathan, I know we were terribly wrong before. Please forgive us." Mom and Olivia were also at the side, their eyes full of anticipation. I stopped, a hint of pain flashing in my eyes. I took a deep breath and slowly said, "I don't forgive you. These days, taking care of you is only because you saved me. But the hurts you caused me before, I haven't forgotten. Those days of being abandoned, those memories of suffering. It wasn't something that could be forgotten just by saying you forgot." The Millers, hearing what I said, felt like they had been hit by a hammer. Mom covered her face and cried. Dad bowed his head. Olivia looked at me in pain. I looked at them, saying each word, "After I finish taking care of you, we will no longer have any relationship. Please don't look for me, and please completely let me go. Don't make me remember that painful past anymore." Saying this, I turned and left the hospital room. My figure gradually disappeared, each step seeming to step on the broken hearts of the Millers. Dad watched in the direction I left, his arms drooping at his sides. Images of his coldness towards me in the past flashed through his mind like a slideshow. He recalled my childhood desire to watch him play with Zachary, but he always impatiently chased me away, recalled my birthday, he didn't even give a simple blessing, only focusing on preparing a grand party for Zachary. At this moment, regret washed over him like a tide. He felt like something was stuck in his throat, only able to make a desperate and hoarse call. Mom collapsed to the ground, constantly punching the floor. Her voice was broken from crying so much, and the sound of her tears and snot filled the faces of the whole. Mom couldn't bear the pain on the table. Mom also looked, she never had the luxury and she didn't look great. She just said, "Thank you and I'm sorry, I'll never happen again," and that's the story of the mother and her story. It was sad and it was over. Olivia was sitting and just holding one hand. She told me I never did it. All that stuff. All those games. The love? I would just go over the table and I would start saying my prayers I would take us both away into the next world with that it would all be over with. She pulled and tugged. She looked at all the time that's gone by and she'll never find the story that